Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Swarna Ma'am's Biology. In this video, I will be explaining you about the working of the heart. Let us start. In my last video, I explained you about the structure of the heart. We have seen different chambers, arteries, veins, valves, and even the septa which are present in our heart. So here we will go into the cardiac cycle and its rhythm. So before going into our topic, just revise what are the different chambers and arteries, veins, what are the names of the valves which are present in our heart, so that it will be easy for you to remember. So this is the right auricle, this is the right ventricle, this is the left auricle, and this is the left ventricle. And this is superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, pulmonary artery, aorta, and these are the pulmonary veins. And we have seen even the walls. These are the tricuspid walls. So these are the which are present in the auriculoventricular septum. These are the tricuspid wall, and these which are present on the left side in the auriculoventricular septum, we call them as bicuspid wall. And these walls which are present in the aorta and the pulmonary artery, we are calling them as semilunar walls. So this much we are clear. And even we have discussed about the nodes which are present in our heart, which is a patch of muscular tissue layer, which is present in the wall of the heart. There is SA node, which is present in the right upper corner of the right atrium. And there is AV node, which is present in the left lower side of the right atrium. Auriculoventricular node. Okay. So this much we are clear. And here we will go into how the blood is flown within the heart in different chambers of the heart. So which we will be calling it as cardiac cycle. Okay. So when we say about cardiac cycle, so how can we define this cardiac cycle? This is a sequence of events which occur between the two heartbeats. Means sequence of events which occur from one heartbeat to another or between the two heartbeats. Means how the blood is flowing in the different chambers of the heart. So now to explain this cardiac cycle, again I will draw the diagram. Okay. This is a right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, left ventricle. So superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, pulmonary artery, pulmonary veins. Okay. And SA node and AV node. Okay. So When we see the cardiac cycle, first we have to discuss about these nodal tissues. This SA node, that is atrial node, is called as pacemaker of the heart. It is called as pacemaker of the heart. It is the only one which is initiating the heartbeat. So it is called as pacemaker of the heart. So it is due to the action potential which is generated. It is due to the action potential which is generated. So when the SA node initiates the contraction is sent to means the signals are sent to the next node, that is AV node. So the signals of contractions are sent to the AV node, and from there this AV node is again divided into two branches, okay, which are called as bundle of His. AV node will be traveling along the septum, means auriculoventricular septum, and along the ventricular septum, which we call them as bundle of His, and which later surrounds the entire wall of the ventricle as Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers, which passes the contraction signal from which is initiated by the SA node to the entire heart. So SA node is starting the initiation of the contraction, which is called as pacemaker of the heart. So how this contraction occurs? So at first, when we are discussing about this cardiac cycle, the initiation of contraction is mainly due to the pressure which is present in the different chambers of the heart. So when we study in general about the cardiac cycle, we will be studying in three divisions. So means the cardiac cycle contains three divisions. So first one is cardiac diastole. So next, atrial systole. The next one is ventricular systole. The entire cardiac cycle will be divided into three stages. So first one is cardiac diastole. Here I am using the words diastole and systole. Diastole means relaxed state, whereas systole means contracted stage. Yes, is it clear? So diastole means relaxed state, whereas systole means that is contracted state. So when we see the diastole, so the first is cardiac diastole. At first, the heart, all the chambers of the heart will be in the relaxed state. The pressure in all the chambers is very less. And you also have to remember, always the blood flows from the high pressure area to the low pressure area, or from the high potential to the low potential. So we can even say, so this is pressure outside is more, which we are representing as positive, and pressure in our auricles is less, which we are representing as less, or that is minus. So we can say that high pressure area and low pressure area. So at first, so in the first stage, all the chambers in our heart are in the relaxed state. So the pressure inside the auricle is generally less. When the pressure in the auricles is less, so the blood from outside will be carried and dropped inside the auricles. So how it will be carried? We know that superior vena cava, this is the superior vena cava, and this is the inferior vena cava, will be dropping the impure blood into the right auricle. And here in the left auricle, pulmonary veins will be dropping the pure blood into the left auricle. So now the right auricle as well as left auricle are filled with blood, but those two are separated by a septum. Here in the right auricle, the pure blood, this impure blood is filled from the superior vena cava as well as inferior vena cava, as well as in the left auricle, the pure blood is brought from the lungs by the pulmonary veins. So now our auricles are filled with blood. So when the auricles are filled with blood, now the pressure is more in those chambers. So when the pressure is more, here we studied that auriculoventricular walls are present on the auriculoventricular septum. So this side we call it as tricuspid wall, and this side we are calling it as bicuspid wall. Yes, just now also we have discussed. So when the pressure in the auricle is more, it has to send the blood somewhere. So where it will be sending? Now the walls open and send the blood which is present in the auricles into the ventricle. Okay. Now the entire blood will not be sent. Only 30% of the blood will be sent. Now when the pressure is more in the auricle, now these auricles start to contract, which we are calling it as atrial systole, which we call it as atrial systole. Okay. So this atrial systole, when the atrial systole occurs, the auriculoventricular valves, that is tricuspid valve as well as the bicuspid valve opens, pushing the blood which is present in the auricles into the ventricles now. So the impure blood which is present in the right auricle is sent to the right ventricle, and the pure blood which is present in the left auricle is sent to the left ventricle. Okay. Now, here the blood is occupied, means the blood is filled in the ventricles. So right ventricle is filled with blood and left ventricle is also filled with blood. Right ventricle is filled with impure blood. Left ventricle is filled with pure blood. Okay. So now the pressure in the ventricles increases. So when the pressure in the ventricles is increasing, what happens? The blood has to flow somewhere. So now, due to the increase in the pressure in the ventricles and decrease in the pressure in the pulmonary artery as well as aorta, the semilunar walls which are present near the pulmonary artery and the aorta now opens. Okay. When the ventricle pressure is increasing, it is making the semilunar walls which are present in the aorta as well as the pulmonary artery to open, pushing this blood into the respective arteries. So when the semilunar valve which is present in the pulmonary artery is opening, then which blood is flowing out? The impure blood is moved to the lungs. Okay. When the semilunar valve which is present near the aorta is opening, then what blood moves? We didn't draw even aorta. Let us draw here. Okay. In the before diagram, I have represented. When the semilunar valve present in the left ventricle is opening, now what happens? The pure blood from the aorta is also sent out, which is carried to the different parts. So this is about the entire cycle which is occurring in the ventricle. It is ventricular systole. Are you clear up to here? Again, I will repeat. So at first, it is the whole heart is in the relaxed state. Means all the chambers are in the relaxed state. Then the blood from outside is carried into the heart. That is, they are opening into the atria. In the from the superior vena cava in inferior vena cava, right auricle is filled with the impure blood and the left auricle is filled with pure blood from the pulmonary veins. So now our both the atria are filled with blood. But you have to remember the right atria is filled with impure blood, whereas left auricle or left atria is filled with pure blood. Now here the pressure is increasing in atria. Now what happens? It causes contraction of the atria. So when the atria contract, which we are calling it as atrial systole, the walls which are present on the septum, that is bicuspid as well as tricuspid valve opens, pushing the blood from the auricles into the ventricle. So when the tricuspid valve is opening, the impure blood from the right auricle is coming into the right ventricle, and when bicuspid valve is opening, the pure blood which is present in the left auricle is coming into the left ventricle. Up to here it is clear. Now the pressure in the ventricle is more now. Yes, it is filled with blood. Now it has to contract. When the ventricle contract, At the same time, the auricles relax. When they have sent the blood from their place to the ventricle, now auricles relax and ventricles start contracting. Immediately, what happens when the ventricle contract? These walls which are present, that is semi-lunar walls which are present near the right ventricle, near the aorta as well as pulmonary artery start opening. Now, the blood from the right ventricle is carried to the lungs by the pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle, it is carried through aorta to different parts. And when the semilunar valves are opening, before that only, immediately the bicuspid and tricuspid valve closes back. Okay? Means before the semilunar valves opens and sends the back that side, blood that side, before that only, these valves, that is auriculoventricular valves, closes again, preventing the backflow of the blood. So now the blood has to flow into the pulmonary artery as well as aorta. Otherwise, the blood may flow in the reverse direction again into the auricles. So immediately these tricuspid as well as bicuspid valve are closing so that the blood will not flow into the auricles. There is only one way to run outside. So from the right ventricle, it is carried to the that is lungs through the pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle, it is carried to the different parts through aorta. Okay. So now blood from the ventricle is sent out. So into the lungs and to the different parts. That is, impure blood is sent to the lungs and the pure blood is sent to the different parts. Now the ventricles are in the relaxed state. So the pressure, if we see, when the blood flows out from the ventricle, the pressure in the ventricle decreases. So when the pressure in the ventricle decreases, immediately when the pressure is less when compared to that of this pulmonary artery as well as aorta, the semilunar valves closes, preventing the backflow of blood. Okay, otherwise the blood may flow again back. So immediately they close, preventing the backflow of blood. So now blood will be flown outside. So now we'll be calling it as diastole, where all the chambers of the heart will be in the relaxed state. Okay, so it is only for few seconds. So immediately, again, the impure blood will be collected from by the time this ventricle relax, again the auricular systole starts or atrial systole starts, bringing back the impure blood from the different parts. Comes the cardiac diastole, where the entire chambers, all the chambers of the heart are in the relaxed state. Okay, which we call it as cardiac diastole. When all the chambers are in the relaxed state, again the same cycle repeats. The impure blood will be passed into the right auricle, and the pure blood will be passed into the left auricle. So again the same cycle repeats. So this sequence of events which occur in the heart, we call it as cardiac cycle. So all these stages we will be discussing in 3 headings, as I told you. So first one is atrial systole. So this is about 0.1 second. So where both the atria are in the contractile stage. Then ventricular systole, where ventricles contract. This is about 0.3 second. And cardiac diastole. This is about 0.4 second. Okay. So when the atrial systole starts, so when all the chambers of the heart are in the relaxed state first, the sinoatrial node starts initiating the contraction. So sinoatrial node start initiating the contraction, which we are calling it as the pacemaker of the heart. And these contraction signals will be sent to the AV node. So SA node initiates the contraction. It is sent to the AV node. And later, these signals will be traveled throughout the wall of the ventricle through branches of the AV node, which we call as AV bundle, which we call them as bundle of His, and which will be traveling through entire wall of the heart, which we call them as Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers means first, again I am repeating, first all the chambers are in the relaxed state. When all the chambers are in the relaxed state, blood from outside is brought into the auricles first. So now the pressure in the auricles is increasing. When the pressure is increasing, the atria starts contracting. Okay, so it has to push the blood somewhere. So it starts contracting, opening the AV valves first. That is auriculoventricular valves on both the sides. So the AV valves open, pushing the blood into the respective ventricles. We know the impure blood is filled into the right ventricle and pure blood is filled here. Now the ventricular pressure is increasing more. When the blood is coming into the ventricle, now auricles relax. Now ventricles are start contracting. When the pressure in the ventricle increases, what happens? It closes the first it closes the AV valves. Means it must not again go into the atria. So it closes the AV valves and it has to send the blood somewhere else. So where it has to send, we know that we know the pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricle and aorta arises from the left ventricle. So from the right ventricle, that is impure blood is sent to the lungs for purification and pure blood from the left ventricle is sent to the aorta to the different parts of our body. So now when the ventricle is sending the blood to outside, immediately it start relaxing. At this state, all the chambers of the heart will be in the relaxed state, which we call it as cardiac diastole. Means the entire heart will be in the relaxed state, which we are calling it as cardiac diastole, which lasts about for about 0.4 seconds. Okay. So these are the different stages of the cardiac cycle. That is atrial systole, ventricular systole, and cardiac diastole. Here, when discussing, I am saying that okay, when I am discussing, I am saying that this is the right auricle, this is a right ventricle, this is a left auricle, and this is the left ventricle. I am saying AV valves, that is bicupsid as well as tricupsid valves. Bicupsid, it is also called as mitral valve, okay, and tricupsid. So these bicupsid and the tricupsid valve, they open and they are sending the blood into the respective ventricles when the auricles are contracting. Yes. So when the ventricles contract, I am saying that the blood is sent outside through aorta as well as pulmonary artery. Yes. So here, when the pressure in the ventricle is more, immediately these valves closes again to prevent the backflow of the blood. That is bicupsid and the tricupsid valve, which we are calling them as auriculoventricular valves, closes to prevent the backflow of the blood into the atria, which we call, which which is heard by a sound which is called as lub. That is the first heartbeat, which we call it as lub. Means when the pressure in the ventricle is increasing, it is closing the valves first, because if the valves doesn't close, what happens? The blood from the ventricles may go into the atria again. Okay, so this the blood which is present in the ventricle have to go into the respective arteries. So this auricular ventricular valves immediately closes, which is heard by a sound which is called as lub. Then when the pressure is increasing here at the same time, and the pressure in the respective pulmonary artery as well as aorta is less. So the semilunar valves opens, helping the blood to flow there, means blood to flow into the respective arteries. After that, when the pressure and means when the blood is entering into the respective vessels, when the pressure in the ventricle decreases, immediately again the semilunar valves closes. Are you following? So when the blood from the ventricles is going into the respective arteries, that is pulmonary artery as well as aorta, now the pressure in the ventricle will be less. When the pressure in the ventricle becomes less, immediately the semilunar valves closes to prevent the backflow of the blood. So closure of the semilunar valves causes the sound dub. Okay. So this sound is called as dub, whereas when the AV valves closes, we call it as lub. Means it is heard by a sound lub. So these are the sounds in our heartbeat. Lub dub. So what is lub? It is a closure of auriculoventricular valves to prevent the backflow into the auricles, which is heard by lub. And the dub sound, it is a closure of semilunar valves to prevent the backflow of the blood into the ventricles. It is heard by dub. So the entire sequence of events which occur from the starting of means the entire sequence of events from one heartbeat to the next heartbeat, we call it as cardiac cycle. Okay. So these are the three stages of the cardiac cycle. Now, so here it is given, if you see. So first first the entire heart will be in the diastole stage. Then atrial systole begins. Immediately after, when the atrial systole ends, the ventricular systole begins. Then ventricular systole ends. Then the heart, entire heart means ventricular systole, diastole occurs, where the entire chambers of the heart will be in the diastole stage, which we call it as cardiac diastole. So let us take a small quiz. So I have discussed you how the blood is entering in different chambers. So in one complete round of circulation, blood comes to the heart. If you can guess, just guess. Again, I will explain. It comes once, twice, thrice, or four times. So here the answer is twice. Why I will explain. It is because of double circulation. Okay. So when I explain the double circulation, you can clearly understand. So there is another question which is given in your previous years. The impulse of the heartbeat originate from. We know it is SA node. Why? Because SA node is called as pacemaker of our heart. SA node is called as pacemaker of our heart, and AV node is called as pace setter of our heart. So when we see about double circulation, so circulation of the blood in our heart, it is called as double circulation. So it is divided into pulmonary circulation as well as systemic circulation. So in the pulmonary circulation, it is a circulation between the heart and the lungs. Whereas in systemic circulation, it is a circulation of the blood between the heart and the body. So I will explain here what is a pulmonary circulation and what is a systemic circulation. So when we see the heart, so it is superior vena cava, that is inferior vena cava, that is pulmonary artery, this is aorta. Yes, and these are pulmonary veins. So when we see the blood from outside is brought into the auricles first. So here the impure blood is brought from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava and is dropped into the right auricle. And pure blood is brought from the pulmonary veins and is brought into the left auricle. And after the impure blood is coming into the right ventricle, this is right ventricle. So pulmonary artery is carrying the blood to the lungs for purification. And here we know the pure blood is present already. Yes, the pure blood from the left ventricle is carried by the aorta to the different parts. This circulation between the different parts of our body and the heart, we call it as systemic circulation. And the circulation means where the blood is carried from the heart to the lungs, we call it as pulmonary circulation. So the entire circulation cycle, if you see, the blood is entering our heart twice. Means the blood is brought by the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and it is coming to the right ventricle and is going into the lungs for purification. After purification, again it is brought by the pulmonary veins and is dropping in the left auricle. And now this pure blood which is coming in the right ventricle is supplied to the different parts of our body. Means the blood, if you see the blood, it is coming here. Again I will draw and explain. See the blood here. If you see the flow of blood here, the blood from outside is coming into the right auricle, then it is going outside into the lungs. That is impure blood. So I have to draw with blue color. Okay. So the blood from outside, it is coming here and is going into the lungs for purification. And later it is purified. Then the pure blood is carried from the lungs through the pulmonary veins, and from here it is distributed to the entire part of our body. So when we see the blood is touching the heart twice, means the blood is entering, it is leaving, again entering, it is leaving, or we can call pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation takes place simultaneously. In the pulmonary circulation, the impure blood which is carried into the right ventricle is carried to the lungs. At the same time, the pure blood which is present in the left ventricle is carried by the aorta to the different parts. So here if we see, the blood is touching the heart, coming to the heart twice, entering the heart and leaving the heart, entering the heart and leaving the heart before it is distributed to all the parts of our body. So we call it as double circulation. Here there are two types of circulation is happening. That is pulmonary circulation, where the impure blood from the different parts are carried by the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, which is dropped in the right auricle, then coming to the right ventricle and is carried to the lungs. Then systemic circulation is also happening, where the pure blood which is passed from the lungs, it is coming into the right ventricle, that is left ventricle. It is distributed from the aorta to the different parts. So if you see here, the entire cycle, the blood is touching the heart twice. So we call such type of circulation as double circulation. Why the double circulation is mainly favored in the human beings, that is man, is the heart is four chambered, where all the chambers are divided by septa. There will be no mixing of the oxygenated as well as deoxygenated blood which are present in the different chambers. So here also we can see systemic circulation, where the blood is distributed from the heart to the different parts. Okay. And there is a hepatic portal system which collects the blood from the digestive system, and then even it distributes the blood to the heart. And there are coronary blood vessels which transports the blood to and means they carry the blood from the heart and they also carry the blood away from the heart, which are called as coronary blood vessels. And when we see the regulation of cardiac activity, the autonomous nervous system is mainly responsible for the regulation of our cardiac activity, which is regulated in the medulla oblongata, which is present in our brain. So, what is autonomous nervous system? We will be clearly discussing in the nervous system topic. That is autonomous. We know that nervous system contains somatic nervous system, where it is controlled by all the voluntary muscle, where the activity is controlled by the brain, and autonomous nervous system, it is involuntary in action. Okay, so this autonomous nervous system, autonomic nervous system or autonomous nervous system is mainly responsible for our cardiac activity. And when we see this autonomous nervous system, it is of two types, parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic nervous system means autonomous nervous system is involuntary in action. It is involuntary, means it without our knowledge. It is not under the control of the brain. So it is of two types, that is sympathetic as well as parasympathetic. In the sympathetic nervous system, it causes a decrease in the heart rate as well as decrease in the cardiac output and even decrease in the cardiac circulation. Whereas sympathetic nervous system, it causes increase in the heart rate, increase cardiac output and even increase in the ventricular circulation. So parasympathetic nervous system causes decrease in the heart rate, decrease in the cardiac output and decrease in the it occurs when we are in the relaxed condition, okay, and we are in tensed state, or if we see what we love, okay, so it immediately without our knowledge, it increases the heart rate. It increases when the heart rate increases, immediately the cardiac output will be also increasing, and even the ventricular circulation also will be increasing. So here we are coming across the word that is cardiac output. Before that, I want to tell you stroke volume as well as cardiac output. So what is meant by stroke volume means the amount of the blood that pumped out from the left ventricle, we call it as stroke volume. Means when the ventricle contract, the blood will be pumped outside. Okay. How much amount of the blood the ventricle is pumping per one cycle, one cardiac cycle, we call it as stroke volume. Okay. It will be approximately 70 ml. And cardiac output is the amount of the blood that is pumped per 1 minute. Okay, stroke volume is the amount of the blood that is pumped during the ventricular systole or ventricular contraction in one cycle. It is approximately 70 ml. The cardiac output is amount of the blood that is pumped from the ventricle when it contracts in 1 minute. We know that in 1 minute our heart beats 72 times. Yes, so the amount of the blood that is pumped is 72 into 70. It will be rounding about 5,000 ml. So about 5 liters of the blood will be pumped. Means we also know that in our body, when we are studying about the blood, in our body, we will be containing minimum of 5 liters of the blood. Means all the blood which is present in our body is circulated through the heart, it is purified in our lungs, and it is circulated to our all the parts of our body. Okay, so here stroke volume means the amount of the blood that is pumped in one ventricular systole, we call it as cardiac, that is stroke volume. So this is about approximately 70 ml, whereas cardiac output means the amount of the blood that is pumped in 1 minute, and we know that the heart beats for about 72 times per 1 minute. So it is 70 into 72, approximately 5000 ml. And there is also a thing that when the size of the body is more, the stroke volume or the cardiac output or the beating of the heart will be little less. Whereas the size of the body of that animal is less, more metabolic rate is there, and the beating of the heart is more, and more amount of the stroke volume, that is more amount of the blood is pumped out. Okay, so if we see different animals, rat, man, and elephant, which will be having the more stroke volume, you comment in my comment section. Okay, so here, if the size is more, the less will be the stroke volume. If the size is less, more will be the stroke volume. So this is a hint that I am giving. If I take three animals, that is elephant, man, as well as rat, which will be having more stroke volume and which will be having the less stroke volume? Please answer in the comment section. Hope you understood this topic. If you like this topic, please give a like, share, and subscribe my channel, Spanna Man's Biology. In my next video, I will be explaining you about the disorders of the circulatory system. Until then, thank you. Bye.